Oh, whoops, that's not a save. This is the save. Naruhodō is the save, not Susato. Susato is just a chapter select. Ha! Alright, we're gonna go. Let's go in. Mike's nowhere. Mike's in the same spot as it was yesterday. Alright. It's the same day, 10:41 a.m. in the morning, the Supreme Court Defendant Lobby number 3.
I'm sorry, Susato-chan. Sorry, I didn't tell you about the medicine. Haori-sama.
I know that it was your strong sense of responsibility that led you to shoulder this burden alone.
Actually, it wasn't. I was just afraid of what would happen if you found out. So I tried to get it back from that English woman before anyone noticed. Susato-chan, you told me before the trial began that you believed in me from the bottom of your heart. Yes. And yet, I was the one who couldn't be fully trusted. Trusting? I hid important information and betrayed your trust. Give me a good thwack! No, a good heart toss! Or maybe the criminal parading punishment would be more... I deserve the same thing. What? When I found out that you pulled the weapon from the body, just for a moment, I doubted you.
Oh no, the sad Susato track.
Susato-chan. Even though I swore that I'd be your ally and fight for you until the bitter end, I'm the one who betrayed you. I failed as a defense attorney. No, you still look handsome.
It looks like you two understand now how difficult it is to trust someone till the very end.
Yes, and I'll never forget it as long as I live. So I'm not going to waver ever again, Haori-sama. Oh, okay. Please, can you forgive me?
Oh?
I knew it, Susato-chan. You're my handsome defense attorney in shining armor.
Oh.
Haori-sama.
She's so gay for Susato.
I was scared when it happened. I didn't know what was going on. The woman was sitting at the back of the shack, listening as I confronted her. I know you stole it! Return it at once!
Huh? I haven't the faintest idea what you're referring to.
And the next thing I knew, that woman got unsteadily to her feet and collapsed before my very eyes. That knife was sticking out of her back. And that's everything that I saw. And there was no one else in the shack at the time, correct? Yes, it was just me and the English woman. There shouldn't have been anyone around to stab her.
But her back was to the wall, right? So that must mean someone must have stabbed her from behind that curtain. Maybe. Certainly, it was an odd turn of events.
I couldn't believe it either. That's why I couldn't bring myself to talk about it. That's alright. No matter what, I'll use what you saw to prove what really happened.
That's my girl. Now then, we ought to discuss where the trial will go from here. We're out of time. Let's organize our information.
Right, I think the poison is going to be a problem. The police should be running tests for it right now.
And I'm pretty sure they probably don't have the right materials to even find that poison, just like in the last case too.
But it's a new type of synthetically created alkaloid, so I doubt the police even have a way to check for it.
Okay, there we go.
Really?
Yes, it's impossible to test for without this reagent.
Regent?
I sent a messenger earlier with the instructions to rush some to the police. Perhaps I should give you some as well, just to be safe. The reagent. A reagent being developed in Father's lab that reacts to poison. It's considered top secret, so only those affiliated with the lab know about it. Why are we developing these poisons in the first place? What is it, Susato? You're awfully quiet.
About this newspaper article. Powerful drugs stolen from Yume Imperial University Medical Research Lab. How did this information, which was supposed to be secret, get leaked? That was the English woman's doing too! Huh? That day, while the professor and Natsumi Soseki-sama were having their conversation in the lab, that English woman casually appeared and said this to Professor Migatoba.
Shall we introduce that medicine to this gentleman, Doctor? To be honest, I was rather alarmed. Mr. Soseki expressed interest, so I showed it to him briefly.
So then, Soseki-sama knew about the poison?
And then, it's possible that the reporter who was covering Mr. Natsumi Soseki also saw it at that time.
Reporter Mami Momi. So then, did that reporter accompany all of you swimming? Huh? No, I don't think there was any reporter with us.
That's right. He wasn't supposed to have been with them on the swimming excursion.
Oh, really?
A reporter accompanying a murder on a swimming trip just wouldn't be right. That's what Mr. Natsumi Soseki said to him before sending him back to his newspaper office.
And yet, he snuck around taking pictures and concealed his name when he sent those pictures to the Imperial Police. Oh.
That's what it would mean. Something tells me the reporter is probably the culprit at this point. Defense! Because I'm sure it's not Soseki or Hosonaga, even though Hosonaga is really suspicious sometimes. I've just received word that they've finished preparing the new witness. The trial will reconvene soon. Please proceed to the courtroom at once. Now then, let us brace ourselves. Attorney Naruhodō Ryūnosuke.
Yes, sir. Haori-sama put her faith in me and told her side of the story. I'll repay her faith by proving what happened at the scene of the crime that day.
Get myself a drink while I have free time. It's the same day, 11:30 a.m., the Supreme Court, courtroom number 1. We shall now reconvene the trial of Murasame Haori. Prosecutor Aochi, has the new witness been summoned?
Before that, I have something to report.
Uh-oh. Oh?
Report? That prosecutor's demeanor seems awfully slick all of a sudden. During the recess, the Imperial Police were able to gain the cooperation of Professor Migatoba's research lab and investigated the blade of this weapon once more.
A quick response, as expected.
Oh no, it was all thanks to your Honor's precise instruction. Yes.
I believe I was the one who sent the regent to the Imperial Police via rickshaw. Look at the way he's wiggling. Apparently, we do well to prepare ourselves. He seems too happy.
So then, what was the result of the investigation? The knife that so brutally slew the victim did not contain even the faintest trace of poison. But are you certain? I swear it on the name of the Imperial Police.
As long as one has the region, testing for the poison is so simple even a baby could do it. It's unlikely they made a mistake. So then where was the poison? The murder weapon. A knife found at the crime scene. Used to murder the victim. No poison was found on the blade. And the poison must have been somewhere else, right? If we're gonna stick to this poison theory.
In other words, the embarrassing excuses the defendant was making earlier have now been completely crushed. No! The prosecution would like to summon a new witness.
You must be referring to the newspaper reporter responsible for the photo of the moment of the crime. Very well. Bailiff, escort the witness to the stand.
There were no traces of poison on the knife. So then, how on earth did the poison enter the victim's body?
God damn it, don't bring the chocolate joke again. Ah, man, this guy, bless him.
Now then, witness, please state your name and occupation.
Mamemome Hita. I'm a well-known journalist of the Daily Daikoku.
Father, what's a journalist?
It's basically a reporter that specifically writes for newspapers. The blue ink gushing from my fiercely scribbling pen reveals new facts every morning during breakfast tea.
What the heck? What? What?
Soldier of fortune in the newspaper world and all-around great guy. That's me, Mamemome. Sorry, I stopped because, like, what was that animation? Oh man, his track. Oh, this track is fantastic.
So then, were you the one?
Were you the one who took this photo? Oh, what have we here?
What do you mean?
Oh, I'm catching the scent of an incredible scoop. Suspicious pretty boy attorney stands in court. Insists on unscrupulous schoolgirl's innocence. Our readers will love this. I'll make it a 72.5 paragraph uninterrupted article in tomorrow's morning's paper. Holy crap, this guy's animation. Look how fast he's going.
What?
So first, I'll need your name.
It's Naruhodō Ryūnosuke, but...
Okay, next. What made you decide to become a defense attorney?
To change Japan's legal system, but...
That's quite the ambition.
I simply borrowed Kazuma-sama's dream. By the way, my name is Aoji Taketsuchi. I'm a beast of a prosecutor who's famous for his courtroom-shaking objection.
Really? Sorry, our readers wouldn't be interested in that sort of thing.
Oh! What?
Witness. Yes, Your Honor. I already know exactly who I want to cast for this guy now. The court would like you to begin by asking you, did you take this photo? Apparently, it was sent anonymously to the Imperial Police yesterday. Yes, the fact that I couldn't rein in my shudder before getting the scoop was an embarrassment to my masculinity. Really? Is it the incident that summoned Mamemome, or is it Mamemome who attracts the incidents? Are you Sherlock Holmes now? A journalist's strongest weapon is his legs. They allow him to race off anywhere and dig up material. That's my Mamemome philosophy.
Your Mamemome philosophy?
Ah, these words. Ah, yes. I remember your face well now. I met you as well on the day of my conversation with Mr. Natsumi Soseki. Hey, precisely. The reporter you met was indeed Mamemome. That name, man. But as I recall, you were meant to have returned to the Daily Daikoku headquarters after that conversation. Oh, however, I did not return to headquarters. The English lady said something that caught my ear.
You mean Giselle Bullet?
Allowing a terrible criminal to care for herself simply because she's English. Truly outrageous! Our country's legal system is rotten to the core! Oh. Well, I agree with you then. Are the verdicts handed down by our Supreme Court mere trifles? Are the Imperial Police Great Britain's lapdogs?
Shut your mouth! This is a huge political problem for us!
In any case, I adhere to my mommy philosophy and wrote down what she said to me. Are you ready? I'm going to read it. You're ready, right? Here it goes. I'd like to see the Japanese Sea with all of you. A vicious criminal going on a peaceful pleasure jaunt. There's no way I could pass this up. That's why I decided to secretly follow you all. I figured I'd write an interview out of the Englishwoman and hammer it out in an article. So then, you must have witnessed it. The scene in this photo, with your own 2 eyes. Yes, I sure did, with my own 2 eyes. I saw the whole incident from start to finish, through my camera's viewfinder. This guy's fantastic, though. Very well. The court requests your testimony about what you witnessed as the murder occurred. Just pulling pencils out of hammer space, man. Oop, there's background noises. Gonna pause for a sec. Alright, we're back. Sorry about that. I was also trying to find where it was. There's like a Japanese player's guide for, online guide for this game, and I'm having a really hard time finding my place in it again since, yesterday. Since we didn't finish the case per se, so I'm like, cannot find my placement for this. Alright, well. Let's do what I can. Anyway. The truth I saw through my camera. The shack was surrounded by 4 sides by reed screens, and I was able to see inside through the gap between them. The Skull Girl came in and began to argue with the seated Englishwoman. The next thing I knew, the Skull Girl pulled out a knife, dragged the Englishwoman to the ground, and plunged it into her back. My reporter senses were on fire. I took up my camera at once and captured my scoop. I wrenched open the gap in the coarse reed screens, struck my lens in, and snapped the photo. Reed screens? Indeed. If you'll take a look at this amazing photo I took, you'll understand. The walls of the shack were made of plant reeds roughly woven together, so that the wind can enter the gaps and cool the interior. And my cool gaze entered as well, right alongside the wind. Setting aside the fact that peeping is a cowardly thing to do, had you already been watching since that time that Haori-sama entered the shack? Yes, I saw the whole thing from start to finish. And you say you took the photo from between the gaps in the reeds? Fortunately, the reeds were clustered in loose bundles. So, I pushed those reeds aside and jammed my camera lens roughly inside. Would I be caught or would I not? It was the biggest gamble of my life. I'm actually surprised he wasn't caught. Look, this camera's really loud.
Admirable persistence for a reporter.
A scoop must be fought for. That's also part of my mommy philosophy. It seems that the court has finally managed to find a true witness. Perfect evidence, perfect testimony. We're finally approaching our verdict.
Thank you, Your Honor. I'm glad to hear that.
However, there was one thing in this testimony that raises a major question.
Question?
You have all these things, a photo, a first-hand account. Why have they not been made into an article to read over morning tea?
Good point.
There must be a reason behind this.
Ha! This is nothing but pointless quibbling.
Now then, defense, your cross-examination.
Yes, Your Honor. It sounds like the newspaper reporter is hiding some sort of ulterior motive here.
I love strapping that suspender. Also, that symbol on his armband is exactly the same insignia that we saw on the pen. So, I have a feeling we know who that pen belongs to. Anyway, let's see, what statements am I pressing here? The schoolgirl came in and began to argue with the seated English woman. Press.
So you saw Haori-sama enter the shack?
Yes, she was blazing with an anger so intense that it was almost enough to dry out my eyes as I peered in.
So, when you say they argued, what exactly were they talking about?
Stole and didn't steal. Something of that nature.
They must have been talking about that poison, I guess.
The schoolgirl suddenly closed in on the Englishwoman, her black hair standing on end. Rage puffed hair reaches the heavens. The schoolgirl's long hair pierced the heights of heaven. Pierced the heavens! He might be more suited for novel writing than journalism. However, the Englishwoman was completely unperturbed, just like a Japanese person hearing English for the first time.
You might be too terrible at similes.
Smileys? Oh!
He might be too terrible at similes to make it as a novelist.
Similes, though. What the heck? Huh. I'll have to... Hold on. Sorry, I have to check. I'm gonna put this... I need to note this on the script later for me to look at later. Note. Look at that later. That might be what she meant to put. Yeah. No, I think similes is actually a word too, so. Let me. Here, I'm gonna put this down. You see why I did this? You see why I don't do like blind runs of these stuff on my LPs immediately? Gotta check over these scripts, man. That there for now. In any case, the schoolgirl defendant seemed incredibly irate.
I'm sure all the blood rushed to her head and she had committed her crime before she knew it.
Yeah, I think she meant to go for simile, but I don't know, I was having a hard time reading it. And that's how I came to encounter the fateful moment. The schoolgirl pulled out a knife, dragged the Englishwoman to the ground, and plunged it into her back.
Did you really see that moment?
Ha! Not just that exact moment. I, Mommy, saw the entire hellish scene clearly, from start to finish.
Here's an overhead diagram of the shack where the murder occurred. Witness, kindly describe the sequence of events as you witnessed them.
Can you do that? Very well. It's all part of my mommy philosophy. When I, the observer, peeked into the shack, the Englishwoman, as I recall, was at the back of the shack, seated on a chair.
Yes, the defendant herself testified the same thing. She just sat at the back of the room, smiling unconcernedly at me. Those were her words.
I'm in the middle of my testimony. Don't interrupt me. Anyway, I was peeking in, and the next thing I knew, that sinister schoolgirl entered the shack. They began arguing fiercely in the middle of the shack. The violent schoolgirl lunged at her, but the Englishwoman skillfully dodged her. The blade sliced through the air and landed with a flash in the victim's back. It sounds like a terrifying crime to witness. To give a crystal clear testimony is part of my Momi philosophy. I'm gonna get sick and tired of saying that. The overhead diagram of the crime scene, an overhead diagram of the shack where the murder occurred, shows the layout at the time of the crime.
By the way, Momi-sama, if you were viewing this terrifying turn of events from the gaps in the read screen, why did you make no attempt to enter and stop the crime instead of taking a photo?
We newspaper reporters are destined to go through life as mere observers.
So you never said a word to Giselle Bullet?
Yeah, Momi philosophy, which is basically his name and philosophy put together. Naturally. Observers can only sit on the outside and look in on events as they occur, you see?
Is that really something to brag about?
Your Honor, if I may. Yes? It seems that we best serve by having those outstanding words added to the witness's testimony.
Father?
The court accepts the defense's request. Please add your last statement to your testimony. Nihilism is a basic principle of my Momi philosophy. Leaving my mark on the record is but a brief amusement to me. That's an interesting translation. I neither entered the shack nor met the Englishwoman. I was merely an observer. Hold on. We're presenting something, but I'm gonna save first. That can't be right, because, we did find the pen, which has the same insignia as his armband.
Momi-sama, I have always believed that newspapers reported the truth without any falsehood.
Precisely! The newspaper doesn't lie. I swear it on the daily Daikoku shiny insignia. Thanks! That, in a sense, is also part of my Momi philosophy.
However, unfortunately, it seems that the person who writes those articles does lie.
Well, what exactly are you implying?
Does this fountain pen look familiar to you? This was discovered at the scene of the crime. Apparently, the victim was holding it in her hand.
What?
The initials of the owner is engraved on the grip. HM, it says.
Indeed. Naturally, those are the initials of the defendant, Murasame Hari. It's not just her.
Is it a coincidence, Momi-sama? Your initials are also HM, correct?
Oh!
Ita Momi, HM.
Ridiculous! Look, you can clearly see I'm a pencil user, born and bred. Okay, what about that ink stain?
However, it appears that your right hand has a stain on it, which appears to have been made by blue ink.
You must have recently lost it somewhere. Your beloved fountain pen, I mean. Ridiculous!
Momi-sama, at the time of the murder, you
met Giselle Bullet-sama, didn't you? We don't need to listen to this nonsense! It's nothing but conjecture! Exactly! The Daily Daikoku is determined to fight you on this to the bitter end. There are as many people with the initials HM as there are stars in the sky. Okay, but it has an insignia. The defense doesn't have time to go around counting stars. Eh? This fountain pen is hiding one more clue. A piece of immovable evidence that indicates its owner. Very well. The court requests that the defense presents this evidence. Yes, Your Honor. The clue hidden on the pen that indicates who the owner is... Kokoda! This fountain pen has an insignia engraved on it. You recognize this, don't you, Momi-sama? That's the Daily Daikoku's insignia! In other words, the owner of this fountain pen is a reporter from the Daily Daikoku with the initials HM. It seems that the number of stars in the sky has just been narrowed down significantly. Well, what do you have to say for yourself, Momi-sama? Kusa! Order, order! What's the meaning of this witness? I see. So this is how the Supreme Court operates. Viciously exposing the harmless secrets of respectable citizens, claiming its evidence. I think it's a perfectly respectable way to operate. Fine then. I won't try to run or hide. Just before the fearsome event that day, I had an interview with the Englishwoman as a representative of the public. An interview? I didn't hear anything about this, you dirty reporter! So when on earth was this? Before that schoolgirl entered the shack to commit her brutal crime, a mere 2-3 minute exchange, no more than that. Boring contents get thrown out. That's another part of my Momi philosophy. The court can't overlook the existence of this interview. You will testify about when you met the victim. Fine with me. However, I have one condition. Condition? I can't tell this story on my own. Let us call the previous witness, Mr. Natsumi Soseki, back to the stand. Soseki-sama? According to my Momi philosophy, that literary master is hiding something that can't be considered a trifle. In fact, it's huge. Huge.
What?
Don't let other secrets remain hiding or hidden. That's also part of my Momi philosophy. Very well, the court will grant the witness's request. Bailiff, escort the previous witness to the stand.
Soseki-sama, hiding something?
Oh, great. Now I have to yell as Ouchie and Momi and Soseki. Really extreme people. Soseki's just like, what the heck? Why am I here again? What the witnesses are hiding. The Englishwoman refused to let me do an article on her, so I quietly left the shack. After that, I saw the witnesses rush onto the scene after the murder occurred. The detective found that she still had a pulse and ran off to get help. That's when this literary master asked the collapsed victim an important question. He still hasn't testified about that. I'd like to have him held expressly accountable for it. Soseki's just like, what the shit? What? The victim?
She regained consciousness? Yes, well... And not only that, but you asked her a question? Well, I suppose.
Yes, and the victim gave his question a clear answer. One that indicates the defendant.
This is the first I've heard of this. The prosecution was not informed. Hey you, hick author. Why didn't you ever mention any of this? It was by no means a conversation. It's true that I asked the English lady something, but she had already lost her ability to speak, and she wasn't fully conscious.
The defense will conduct its cross-examination without holding back so that we may know the truth.
Yes, Your Honor. You said it would indict Haori-sama.
Haori, excuse me.
What on earth happened in that shack?
What the witnesses are hiding. I need those flashes of Ryotaro. Oh my god, those are beautiful. Okay, what are we pressing? We're pressing the fourth statement? That's when this literary master asked the collapsed victim an important question.
What was the question?
That's something better asked to the man himself. Wouldn't you say, author?
Yes, sir! Damn you, you hick author! What the hell did you speak to the dying English woman about? At the time, I had been playing with the crab along the shore and had built a sandhill on the beach.
What is Soseki? The mental image of a full-grown adult doing those activities is quite a peaceful one.
That's when I heard the schoolgirl screaming for help from inside the shack.
Haori-sama did.
I came running, and the defendant was standing across from the victim, who was lying on the ground. Upon seeing that, Detective Hosonaga left the shack at once to call for help. Next thing I knew, the English lady, who was on the ground, groaned. I was so shocked that I feared I'd be departing from this world even before she did.
But what did you ask her, Soseki-sama?
Who did this to you?
And just what did the victim reply?
Well, as I mentioned before, she didn't reply.
But what? Holy crap, don't leave us in suspense! You will add this to your testimony to ensure that everything that occurred at the crime scene is made clear.
Yes, sir! I asked her, who did this to you? But she didn't answer.
And you were referring to the killer at the time, right?
As the old saying goes, to ask is to bear grief. To ask is to bear brief shame. To not ask is to bear eternal shame. After having been accused of crimes myself twice in the Great British Empire, I made up my mind.
Twice? Oh! Alright. So case 2 is about, case 2 is, because I know this was in the material, so it's not really spoilers, but I know case 2 basically happened between case 4 and 5 of the first game, so I guess Soseki is accused again in that one. Oh, Soseki.
Next time, I'll ask whatever occurs to me, without shame. But you didn't end up getting an answer from the victim, correct? I'll bet that rotten English lady had decided to ignore me just because I'm a hunched over mustached Japanese man.
Soseki-sama, it looks like he's become quite bitter towards England. I read her international study report, and I can't deny the possibility. But I'm sure the Englishwoman wasn't just ignoring him. Wouldn't you agree, Mr. Author?
Well, I suppose she actually did reply. All she did was lift a trembling finger, and it looked like she was pointing it at the defendant.
Giselle Bullet pointed at Haori-sama? So Seki-sama, is that true?
This is incredibly difficult for me to say, but when we stepped into the shack, the English lady was on the ground before us, and the schoolgirl was standing across from her. When I asked her who stabbed her, the lady gathered the last of her strength and pointed a trembling finger towards the back of the shack.
Oh my goodness, she was stabbed from behind the reed wall then.
And the only person at the other end of that finger was that schoolgirl. But...
Witness, why did you not testify about this earlier?
You got it all wrong! No!
Please give your testimony in plain English.
I admit that the English lady pointed to the back of the shack. However, not only was her finger trembling, but I was trembling as well. Now that I think back on it, her finger didn't seem to be aimed right at the schoolgirl. No, actually, I think it may have been quite a bit off. It was more like she was pointing at the back wall of the shack where no one was.
So you mean that both your memory and the direction her finger was aimed in was unclear, correct?
Yes, that! Unclear! I was unclear about it. Everything has become clear at last, Your Honor. Her consciousness may have been fading and the aim of her finger may have been off. But there can be no mistake that the lady was indicting the schoolgirl because... as you can see, there was no one but the defendant in the direction that the victim was pointing. It's clear that no one but the schoolgirl could have murdered the victim.
Indeed, you're right. So long as there are no other possibilities, I must assume that it's time for me to hand down my verdict.
No!
I can see tomorrow's headline tomorrow. Pretty boy defense attorney, elegantly defeated in a 92-point continuous special edition. This isn't good, Sasato. Unless we can indicate the name of the real killer right now, this trial will be completely finished.
But that's impossible. I mean, we still don't even know how the crime was committed.
We have no choice but to do the impossible. Think back to all the information we've heard so far. There must be a clue in there somewhere.
Haori-sama told me in the lobby earlier about when the murder happened. She said the English woman was sitting at the back of the shack, listening as I confronted her. Then the next thing I knew, that woman got unsteadily to her feet and collapsed before my very eyes. That knife was sticking out of her back. How could the victim have been stabbed inside that closed-off shack? The answer lies somewhere in the information we've heard so far.
It would appear that the defense has no rebuttal.
You did surprisingly well for a pretty boy Hicks student.
Now then, I shall hand down my definitive verdict.
This moment is the junction that will decide our fate. Without proof, it's all over. Where was the true killer? And how was the victim stabbed?
I have proof, I don't have proof, I have proof.
Please, just one moment, Your Honor.
What is it, defense?
The defense is prepared to prove the other possibility.
Okay.
As to what the victim used the last of her strength trying to point out. The other possibility. There is none.
There was one other person who could possibly have committed the crime.
What?
And the victim tried to accuse that person with the last of her strength and her shaking finger.
Ridiculous! What utter nonsense!
Very well. If the defense is so sure, then state your claim for the court. Attorney, Naruhodō Ryūnosuke.
Yes, Your Honor.
The court requests that you identify this person. Where was that person hiding themselves at the moment when the victim was stabbed? Back here.
Could I?
I can't retreat now, especially after claiming to be a Naruhodō. The murderer was stabbed. Who stabbed the victim was here, of course. That's outside the crime scene.
What?
You better be sweating. Order, order, order!
But Mr. Attorney, that doesn't add up.
That's where I was hidden, for starters. I didn't see anyone who looked like a murderer there. I can promise you that. That's because it's probably you.
That's right. For one thing, if the killer had been outside the shack, then there's no way they could have stabbed the victim.
If I may, there was just one way.
Huh?
And more importantly, there is proof that that method was actually used.
No way! You half-baked hick of a...
It sounds like the defense's accusations is going to be even bigger than we imagined. Well then, go ahead and show the court your proof. The evidence showing how could someone outside the shack have stabbed the victim is... which crime scene photo? Okay, you know what? I'm gonna save. I'm presenting a photo, but the problem is, which photo am I presenting? You know what? Let's try this.
Could I?
This is the photo of the crime scene. This photo clearly shows traces of the crime have been committed from outside the shack.
Ridiculous! I see nothing of the sort!
Are you certain of that? It seems that at least one person realizes what I'm talking about. In that case, the court requests the defense pointed out. The traces left behind after the crime shown in this picture are... There's a gap back here.
Could I?
Please direct your attention here. There are traces that suggest that a knife was forced through the reeds.
I don't see any... I see no such thing!
It's true that the crime scene was surrounded by 4 walls, however, the weave of reeds was loose, so it would have been possible to shove a small knife in through them. It can't be. Yes. The murderer stabbed the victim from outside the crime scene.
Ah!
And there's only one person who could have done so. That person. That's the person who was outside the shack when the crime occurred. Mami Hita-sama, it could only have been you.
Ah! I'm speechless! Look at this photo closely! The very middle of the shack is where the victim collapsed, see? Are you trying to tell us that the knife was thrown through the gap between the reeds and stabbed her in the back?
There was no need for that.
What do you mean?
The defendant testified that the following occurred right before the murder. I confronted the Englishwoman in that small shack. She just sat at the back of the room, smiling unconcernedly at me.
Sitting! Now look at this photo again. The placement of the hole in the reeds is exactly where the back of someone would be if they'd been seated. So then, the victim, after being stabbed, was stabbed through the reeds while she was sitting. Ah! After being stabbed, Giselle Bullet reflexively stood up. But she collapsed right there without uttering a word. Right in front of Haori-sama. That's what happened in the shack that day. May I interrupt your silence? Interpret your silence as an admission of guilt.
Ridiculous! That's enough. It would seem that the witness has just admitted to his crime. I believe the court has finally arrived at the truth. Namely, that the defendant, Murasame Haori, is innocent.
Finally admitted to his crime.
Did he really? I never felt as proud of you as I do now.
Inconceivable! I, Aochi Takatsuki, upon whose barren plane of shown head hope sprouted anew, found it to be nothing but an illusion. I have no choice but to admit.
The court sees no reason for this trial to continue any longer. I shall now hand down my verdict. Mata! Oh my, isn't this amusing? So this is the height of our country's legal system. A Supreme Court ruling. Suppressing the speech of respectable citizens and recklessly setting them up as criminals.
But, her being stabbed from outside the shack through a gap in the reeds is the truth.
And the only one there who could have done so was you. Seems like awfully reasonable proof to me. You want to talk about where that English woman was stabbed from? What does that matter this late in the game?
This late in the game?
Yo, man, I just started this game. Where and how that lady was stabbed? No. The fact that she was stabbed at all doesn't matter anymore. After all, this trial has already changed the situation in a huge way. What is with that animation?
And just what is that supposed to mean?
The situation has done an about face. That's what I mean, Mr. Student. And by none other than your own hands.
Huh?
Witness, explain yourself. No explanation is necessary. It's the poison.
But poison?
Now then, allow me one interview question to that professor there. Apparently, a poison you were developing was stolen from your research lab. That poison was stolen by the victim. You're sure about that? That's true. The victim's constricted pupils point to a death by poison. So in other words, would I be correct in saying that before the victim was ever stabbed in the back, she had already stolen the poison?
What?
Since her pupils are constricted, that's indeed what we must conclude. Since she already died, the effects of the poison didn't present themselves.
I'd expect nothing less from one of the Imperial City's prided newspaper reporters. Indeed, anyone could have stabbed anyone else in the back as many times as they wanted, and it wouldn't have mattered in the least. After all, it was the poison that took the English woman's life.
We're changing this now?
But if that were the case, there would have been poison on the blade.
What if the poison was somewhere else?
Have you forgotten, Hick student? The investigation we conducted during the recess a moment ago by cooperating with Mikatoma's research lab revealed no traces of stolen poison on the knife's blade.
In other words, the facts that the defense attorney were there so skillfully approved are a mismatch with the core facts of the case by a huge scoop's worth. Are you sure you're right with that?
No!
Order, order, order! But then, how on earth did that poison enter the victim's system? The most simple explanation would be that she drank some.
She drank it.
Check the photo again. As you can see at the crime scene, there was a bottle of carbonated water and a glass lying on the sand. Perhaps she ingested the poison that way.
Someone slipped the poison into her drink?
Why are we... This is just like a repeat of what happened back 9 months ago now. Oh, those handsome eyes. They have the look of a dim-witted buffoon in them. But glaring so cutely at me will get you nowhere. For you see, in this world, I, Mommy, am the only one who couldn't have poisoned that English woman. It's already been proven.
How do you come to that?
Oh dear, have you forgotten? The one who proved that was none other than you, personally.
Me? What is he talking about?
Oh, those trembling eyes. They have the look of a dim-witted buffoon in them. It appears that this trial isn't over just yet. Therefore, the court orders the witness to testify once more. Oh, that's perfect! That tangled beard. I love it! Why could you not possibly have poisoned the witness? You will explain your reason for saying this before the court. Mommy, the man, the journalist, will never and has never intended to run or hide. That's the heart of my Mommy philosophy.
Just when I thought I captured the truth, it retreated again into the darkness. Where on earth is this trial headed?
Okay, I'm going to keep recording, but I'm going to stop for a little bit and just give myself a breather. Just need a break. Let me stick some music on here.